And it's time, of course, I'm joined today by Hollyoaks star Ciara Janson, who found herself in a legal nightmare after her children were unlawfully detained in Sweden by her ex-husband and had to go to the Hague Convention to get them home. It's a very shocking story, international custody battles, legal loopholes and a warning for any parent in a global relationship. I'm pleased to say that actress Ciara Janson and also your mum is Debbie Arnold, very famous lady, joins us now. So, Ciara, God, this is a story. Start from the beginning.
Oh, it's been a very, very difficult time for everybody, you know. But, yeah, like you said, we found ourselves in a very difficult situation where we were faced with a legal battle trying to get the kids from Sweden back to the UK.
Now, your husband, he actually won the Eurovision Song Contest, or was he a winner? Or
yeah, he won.
So he was the winner.
For Sweden.
Which one? Which contest was it?
It was 2015, I think he won it. So a while ago. But he's a very well-known star in Sweden, and so, you know, we had the added pressure of it being in the public eye, and it was just a very exposing thing to happen.
How did you meet him?
We met at a wedding, actually. He was performing at one of my friends' wedding here in the UK, and I thought, I mean, I'm not a huge Eurovision follower, so I thought he was just a wedding singer, to be honest. So, and we met there, and then it sort of just we had kind of like a whirlwind romance. You know, one of those kind of fairy tale romances, and then kind of ended in disaster, unfortunately.
Oh, so what more can you tell us? So what kind of, obviously not details, what kind of went wrong, you know, with, it's a fairy tale, whirlwind?
It was, I think, you know, we were in two very, very different worlds. And, you know, you get married, you're in love, everything is wonderful, and then you kind of find out some things that, you know, things breakdown in marriage, you know, infidelity, you know, many things kind of happened, and obviously led to the breakdown of our relationship. But we were married, we had children, and we were in a situation in another country. And so that's kind of where it began. And it's still, you know, we're still facing it now. It's a really tricky situation.
If you're a US resident, let's face it, things feel uncertain right now. America's national debt, over $36 trillion and climbing. Inflation, still eating away at your savings. And the dollar, down nearly 8% this year, with more countries walking away from it. Meanwhile, the markets, one day they're up, the next day, trillions gone in a blink. So it's no surprise people are asking, where can I actually put my money and sleep at night? That's why more investors are turning to gold and silver. Gold's up over 24% this year, smashing records and soaring past $3,300 an ounce. And some analysts say we could see $6,000 gold before the end of Trump's term. And silver, it's heating up fast, driven by demand in tech, solar and defence. Some analysts say it could double in value this year. If you've been thinking about moving part of your IRA or 401k into gold or silver, tax and penalty free, our friends at Priority Gold make it simple. They're endorsed by Rich Dad's Robert Kiyosaki, ranked #1 by Forbes and Financial Services Review, and trusted by thousands of everyday Americans. Right now, GB News viewers can get a free wealth preservation guide from Priority Gold. It shows you exactly how to add real gold and silver to your IRA or 401k tax and penalty free. Step-by-step plain English, no pressure, just smart information you can act on. Just scan the QR code, click the link in the description below, or if you're a US resident, text WEALTH to 24999. That's WEALTH to 24999 and claim your free guide today. The price of gold can go down as well as up. Past performance does not indicate future performance. Only invest what you can afford.
Where did you get married? In the UK?
We got legally married in the UK, but we had a really beautiful wedding in Croatia, which was lovely. So because it was legally done in the UK, you know, we're kind of, most of it is being held here at the moment, especially as, you know, we came through, as you said, the Hague Convention, which I don't think is widely known, but we're now back in the UK. It's been a very lengthy process.
So how did the children end up in Sweden? Because if you're all in the UK, how did you get
over there?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, my ex-husband is Swedish, and we spent the majority of our lives in the UK, and he was travelling backwards and forwards. We went through a very difficult summer, when the relationship sort of ended. And, you know, like most marriages, you're like, I just have to do everything to try and give this every shot. And, you know, we loved each other, got kids. And he said, you know, I've been travelling backwards and forwards for so long, it's time that if we're going to give this marriage a real shot, we're going to have to do it in Sweden. And so, you know, I followed my heart, really. I was like, I have to do everything I can for my kids, to say I did everything, you know. So we said we would do a trial in Sweden to see how it went, to see if, you know, if we could kind of patch things up and, you know, he could fulfill the promises that he said he would. Ultimately, that didn't happen. So then...
Do you think he had planned it that way to get you there so he could get the children?
To be honest, at the time, absolutely not. No, I was just, you know, from the very beginning, I just thought he was being truthful to me. Of course, you do. You think, I love this person, I trust this person, of course I'm going to absolutely do this. But as it turns out, I think, unfortunately, it was a plan. And that's why we found ourselves in the situation we were in. And it kind of unravelled before my eyes, you know. It was very...
Well, what happened? So as it unravelled, what was the first thing that unravelled?
Well, you sort of found out, because we moved over to Sweden for this trial period on the basis of, you know, all these promises. And it was... Of course, you then kind of put your kids in school there because you're trying it out. And then, you know, you add them to the medical system and they're suddenly ingrained in the system there. And then when it all kind of breaks down, you realise, like, actually, that's a very, very difficult thing to come out of. And it was obviously a premeditated decision, you know, to get everything over in Sweden, because then it's near enough impossible to get out.
Was he a very good dad, you know, with the kids adore him to bits and everything?
He's a great father. He would say himself that he is better with older children. He's got a close relationship with our eldest. But he wasn't there a lot. You know, he was working a lot and, you know, backwards and forwards. We had a full-time nanny. So it was, I would say it was her and I that kind of like held the fort most of the time. And we thought by moving over to Sweden for a bit that maybe we'd see him a little bit more. That was one of the illusions that we were under, I think. Yeah.
So what happened when what was it that, when it all went wrong? How did you know that there was a problem?
Well, like I said, he's very much in the public eye over there. So it's quite difficult to hide away from if you're not being, you know, behaving in the right way. Let's put it that way. And so it was kind of brought to my attention. And it had been a lot, but I turned a blind eye to it, I think.
No.
And this time I was like, well, we're in a bit of a different situation now, so I should probably listen to this. And so I did, and found out that actually it wasn't, you know, it wasn't going where it should. So then, you know, we made a promise to each other that if that was to happen, that we would then return back to the UK. Well, I would return back to the UK with the kids. And that's when the problem started.
You couldn't get the kids away?
Absolutely not.
How did you in the end? You said you went to the Hague Convention?
Yeah, which I'd never heard of it before. I don't think it's very well known, but it's basically when children are being unlawfully detained in a foreign country without the other parent's consent. And it was a strange situation because, of course, I had given consent because we were trying a trial year, but what they were trying to determine at The Hague was where the children's habitual residence was. So it's not a custody battle, it's nothing like that. It was just where have the children spent the majority of their life. And it was actually the only way I could have got them home because, you know, when you're opposed to a man in, you know, power and who's got money and status, you're kind of, it's impossible. And he was just not allowing it to happen. So I had no choice. I had to get my children away from that situation and home.
And you did it? You got them home?
We got them home. It was a really lengthy 3-day court case. It was horrible. It's really, you know, heartbreaking to go through every single thing in court. And of course, in Sweden, it's public information. So it became a bit of a media frenzy, media circus. And of course, when there are kids involved, that's not what you want to happen at all. But it was the only way we could do it.
Well done for getting them back. How long did all of that take you to do?
Well, the court case itself was 3 days. We had to then wait for the decision, which took a couple of weeks. That's the other thing about the Hague Convention is it's meant to happen very quickly. That's the point of it. So we got the decision very quickly. But then we had the court decision to go back to the UK, but we weren't given the passports to head back. So I was then kind of left homeless for about 2 months in Sweden with the kids. You know, I don't have a house there, I don't have a car there, so I was staying on people's sofas, Airbnbs, like hotels. I was, you know, just trying to get by. So it took about 3 months, really, to get them home, and then
But you managed to get them home, and now are you back on Hollyoaks or
No, it was a long time ago. It was the most brilliant journey, but no, I've gone back there a few times, and I feel like people going back all the time. You know, they go backwards and forwards, even if they're ghosts.
Kill you off.
Well, you can go back as a ghost, yeah. exactly. But no, not yet. I haven't been asked as a ghost yet, so we'll see.
All right. Well, listen, it's really incredible to hear your story. If you could give someone some advice, what's something that you learnt off there that you'd warn anybody else that they're getting involved in a foreign relationship and moving abroad with that person?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's just kind of understanding the risks involved with international law, knowing international law and knowing how difficult it can be to get out of it, and just really understanding what you're letting yourself into, I think. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
really
you
good
so
to talk to Ciara Janson. Thank you so much. Excellent, fabulous story. Wow. Thank goodness she did it. She got her kids back, and all is well. Right, if you just tuned in, 32 minutes after 5 o'clock, this is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio.